So the first anecdote I'm going to start with is actually one that I retold very recently to an old new friend, because it was one of the proudest moments and stupidest moments of my life. And I know you've already heard this, and you'll probably hear it a few more times, but in case you forget, or I forget when I suffer from early onset dementia, this is one of the cooler badass things your mom has done, kind of. So I was in law school, and my then boyfriend and I were going back to my apartment with our fucking McDonald's. And I lived in Kitsilano on 5th Avenue. So from the back, I could see the coffee shop that was right there, and I forget the name now. And then around the corner on Vine, there was this awesome gelato place that made fucking port wine gelato, upon which I got really drunk, and that in the Crocatino, which is rum. And on the other side was Arbutus. So I'm coming back into our alley, my then boyfriend, and there's like this gate that, obviously keeps everyone out, with an entrance to the back door. And I saw this guy. He was someone I'd seen around a lot, presumably a homeless guy. And I described him as looking like a Santa Claus who'd been rolled around in dust, because his beard, everything was really gray and like dirty looking, not just like gray. Later on, I would find out his name is Chris, so I'll just refer to him as that. And yes, it's funny because that's also your father's name. So he's silent. He's very solemn looking because he's being yelled at by this guy who I presumed was in either the same building or a building that was adjacent to ours. And he was this middle-aged, slightly lanky, brown-haired guy with a mustache. Don't ask me why I remember this. And he had lined up, I guess, all of Chris's shopping carts full of garbage bags and stuff along the fence. And he was yelling at him in a very belligerent manner, as most yelling is done. And I kind of walked right up, and I was saying, I guess, it was supposed to look like I was talking to both of them, but I was really directing it at Chris. I said, may I help you? And the other guy assumed I was talking to him and said, oh, no, that's fine. I'm just getting rid of the shit, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, it's kind of blocking the entrance, so I can't get into my apartment. He goes, oh, sorry about that, no problem. And he yeets the fucking shopping cart that's right in front of Chris, and all the stuff goes scattering out onto the ground, right? And I'm just like, oh, what a fucktard. So I'm literally halfway through saying, look, that was totally inappropriate, when Chris takes a beer bottle, and he'd been completely stone-faced and solemn the entire time, and just smashes it over the guy's head. So the guy's like bleeding from his head, and he's clutching his head, and he's screaming like, oh, you see what the fuck this guy did? And I'm like, shit. Because being a prospective criminal lawyer, I knew that up until then, Chris was in the right, but now he committed assault with a weapon. So I was kind of concerned, and then it kind of invalidates everything that he might have done before, or any defense he had when he was being yelled at. So the guy goes peeling off, and he's screaming, and I kind of, when did I do this? I think it was after. Yeah. So anyway, around this time, this couple comes walking in from the Vine side in the alley, and it's like this 6'4", 6'5" behemoth. He looked like an enforcer for the mob, kind of, also brown hair, but he was wearing like the Abercrombie and Fitch, like V-neck white sweater with like the colored collar or a V-neck, and then these white shorts. And he's holding a racquetball racket, and he's chaperoning this tiny Barbie doll girlfriend of his. So he starts getting involved, and he's yelling at Chris, and he's like shaking the racket at him, and doing. And dumbass mom steps right in between them, looks up at this guy, I'm holding like I'm going to protect Chris, who's also larger than I am, height-wise, not necessarily width-wise. And I said, it was like in a stupidly written movie, like, there is no need for more violence here, something like that. And he actually starts kind of threatening me, like he's kind of hovering over me with the racket. And he's like, you're going to get out of the way if you know what's best for you, blah, blah, blah. And punk asked me, he goes, what are you going to do? Hit me? To which he replies, and he like turns around and walks off. So I talked to Chris, and he's all quiet again. And I say, do you have a criminal record? No. I said, have you seen this guy before? Apparently this guy had tried to run him and his friends down with a car, and had been, hurling slurs and all that kind of stuff at him. So that was also not cool, but still does not justify assault with a weapon. So if you're wondering where my boyfriend was, he was smartly calling the cops around the dumpster, very safely away from where I was. So police show up, and they question everyone who's around. I write like a fucking 8-page statement, and you can tell it's written by a law student because it's all like allegedly, and my observation is that. And I wrote out everything that was hopefully a mitigating factor. Ultimately, I don't think Chris is charged because I saw him walk off with one of his cards. And when I talked to the police officer said, oh yeah, no, I've seen him around, he's harmless. So that being done, my adrenaline starts, coming down to normal levels. And I turn around, there's this guy, and he's like gray hair. I don't remember if he's got facial hair, but he's in a robe, pajama pants, and fucking slippers. They weren't quite fuzzy, but they were close. Like clearly not someone who was, going out for the evening. And he said, hi, you don't know me, but I live right up there. And I had to come down, I saw everything, and I had to come down and tell you that you have the biggest balls I have ever seen in my whole life. Thank you. He walks away. I've never seen him again. Incidentally, I did see the injured guy again, and I think he recognized me because, oh my God, that look on his face, and I have not been that scared in a long time. So anyway, your mom has a giant pair of testicles that she keeps hidden from everyone else. The reason I tell you this is, like, you haven't seen me necessarily do this yet in your presence because I would never want to do anything that might endanger you, but also because your father has threatened to leave me if I intervene in anything that's none of my business. So there have been times when across the street there's been like screaming or something, and I'm like, getting ready, and he's like, I will fucking leave you, April, if you fucking walk out that door. And because your father is not very verbal with his feelings and stuff like that, I can only imagine it's because he's really professing his love because he doesn't want me to die quite yet. But yeah, I hope you don't really do what I did. That was really dumb.